free to be forthcoming. So here's the prompt. Here's the prompt for this. For this assignment, I would like you to write about your very deepest thoughts and feelings about an extremely important emotional issue that has affected you in your life. In your writing, I'd like you to really let go and explore your very deepest emotions and thoughts. You might tie your topic to your relationships with others, including parents, lovers, friends, or relatives, to your past, your present, or your future, or to what you have been, who you would like to be, or who you are now. So this is the essay prompt that you're supposed to respond to. Here's the format of your response. Again, it's a classic assignment that's discussed in the Wilson book. Please take it seriously. Please turn in 2 single-space type pages next Tuesday in class. Do a page, one of those pages in each of 2 sessions. Okay, so this is the ideal way to do it. I can't monitor whether you do this, but this is the way we ask you to do it, is have one writing session where you write the first page, identify the thing you're going to write about, and then follow the prompt and write for one single-space page. Put it aside for at least a few hours, come back, and then write another page, and just sort of revisit the way you think about this, maybe re-explain your take on it in the second single-space page. Then, take a cover page, put it on top of that, put your name on the cover page, and then when you turn it in next Tuesday, we will go through, we'll actually do it up here somewhere, maybe there or there. We'll go through every one of these assignments that gets turned in and tear off the cover page, put the cover pages in a stack, and then the essays in another stack, and then we'll just grade whether you turned it in, just which we have a cover page on you, and then they'll be able to read all the essays, but they won't know, whose is whose. That way, it's important to protect your anonymity on this because you might be talking about very personal stuff. So in that way we will, and you'll be able to see us tear off the cover page up here, so you know we're not sneakily looking into your diary to find cool secrets about you, like your big sister or something. I mean, a lot of other ways we're like your big sister, but not in this one way. Okay. All right. So we're only grade if you turned it in, and your essay will be read. They just want to know who you are. Are there questions about this? I'll take the alternate assignment 1 second. Yes, sir. Oh, should it be in like formal 5-paragraph essay style? Absolutely not. Do it however you want. Any format is acceptable. Whatever actually is the format that, it comes out of, your mind and is acceptable. One thing that we find with this assignment is maybe the first time you go to like spill your guts on some issue, on this issue that you identify, in your life, it might be not so coherent, it might not be complete sentences, but maybe over time you'll find you're writing some like pristine 5-paragraph essay by like the second writing session, or maybe not. But that's one thing is don't get hung up on format. Just get hung up on content and what you're talking about. Yes, sir. No. Is this assignment related to research? It is not. There's no one will do any research on the contents of your essay. Okay. That's an excellent question. Glad you asked that. No, it's purely like a didactic exercise to get you to really take home the point from the immune neglect lecture and from this section of the Wilson book. Yeah. Yes. So the question is, I don't understand the 2 sessions, 1 page and 2 sessions thing. I guess what I would like you to do is sort of identify the thing you're going to write about based on the prompt. Write 1 page or more, if necessary, to finish expressing yourself on this point or whatever. And then come back and just kind of start over. You don't have to retell everything or something, but just rediscuss or explain your take on this thing you've identified to talk about, with somewhat new eyes a few hours later or 2 days later or something like that. So to some extent, you're free to interpret that exactly how you like. You could either continue your story, or you could start from the beginning, or you could just try to understand or examine the thing you're talking about differently, and so on. I'm looking for 2 sessions. That's the main thing I want. So you sit down at 2 different times. No way I can check and see if you're doing that. Nothing I do. But I trust you. I trust all of you. And in the past, I've done this. I will also participate in this assignment as well. So I will do this too because I'm interested, and I never did it, and I should have done it probably to begin with. It's a strange assignment to ask all of you to do. So I will participate and throw my own essay into the pile. And I don't know. I'm excited. I'm with you. It's gonna be great. We're all together. Okay. Deep inside our own heads. We're all together. Okay. So the alternate assignment. If you're for any reason uncomfortable doing that assignment, then feel free to do this alternate assignment, which would also be due next Tuesday. And that would be Read Habits of the Heart, Chapter 1, which is a book that was written by several Berkeley sociologists and a few people that weren't Berkeley sociologists, but it was written by Bob Bella and Ann Swither. Anybody in class from Ann Swither? Right. What's up? So Anne and Bob and a handful of other people wrote this book. Habits of the Heart. Very, very interesting book. Very, very, very cool book, I think. I put chapter 1 on B-Space in the optional readings, and you would read it and then write a 2-page single-space response. Identify which of the 4 characters is most like you and explain why. Identify which of the 4 characters is least like you and explain why. That's an only mildly introspective essay exercise. So if you're uncomfortable with the first one, do this one, and hopefully you'll learn a lot about yourself that way. Okay. So now we'll take a brief break, like 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll start with the automaticity lecture. Yeah, I am. Okay, if I get your attention, we'll get started again. If I get your attention. So we've now wrapped up the kind of the social mountain in the middle of this class where things are very, very social, very interactional. We're talking a lot about status and roles and identity and stereotypes. And stereotypes are a really nice segue because we think of stereotypes as largely an automatic, non-conscious process. I mean, if you knew that you were judging somebody inaccurately based on generalizations you just received from the media, I mean, you wouldn't do it, right? You wouldn't do it. You'd be like, oh, these generalizations may or may not apply in this situation. But those generalizations are automatic, and so they happen and they affect your perception of people outside of your awareness. And this is why I say it's a nice segue, because we can go now from the social part of the class to the more psychological part of the class, or back to the more psychological, individual level of analysis in this class. And so now we're going to segue from stereotypes, which immediately makes us attuned to the role of automatic, non-conscious processes in the course of social perception. We're going to segue from that to automaticity. And automaticity is a research area that is specifically concerned with the dynamics of non-conscious automatic thinking, and is in particular oriented towards making the case that much more of your thought processes goes on outside of awareness and automatically and non-consciously than you perhaps realize. And that your conscious control part of your mind that you have access to, consciousness, is a smaller story in everyday life than you would think. And what metaphor does Jonathan Haidt use to describe this duality, this dichotomy? The elephant rider metaphor, right? And he says that we're all sort of like people trying to direct an elephant, which is enormous, is doing most of the work, kind of has its own mind about what it wants to do, and then we're at the top kind of vaguely steering it. And we think we're in control. We're a little bit aware that we're not totally in control, but we think we're in more control than probably we really are. And we imagine we're doing a lot of work when really the elephant is doing all this work. Who here is a big Kraftwerk fan? Big Kraftwerk fan? Awesome. Okay, well, this should be a good moment for the three of you. You've actually seen a Kraftwerk quote in a college lecture. So, okay. So I know. So now we got to go back and we got to mess with René Descartes one more time. Just one more time, just because it's fun and he has terrible hair. So René Descartes proposed what has become the dominant view of human nature during the Enlightenment. He proposed this view that thinking is essentially a deliberate, conscious process. He had a lot of other stuff that he thought about human reasoning and thinking, like that it was rational, logical, and so on. But right now we're going to focus most of all on thinking as a deliberate, conscious process. He had this portrayal. He said, he had this whole "I think, therefore I am" kind of thing, which is based on the assumption that he can accurately perceive his thinking. Right? He says, "I think, I can see myself thinking essentially, and therefore I know I exist." But what if he's wrong? What if he can't really see himself thinking? Or what if his insight on his mental processes is but like a fogged, opaque window into his real mental processes? Well, René Descartes, when not combing his beautiful flowing locks, espoused a perspective on human thought that is that behavior is a product of conscious reasoning, and that we're in control of our behaviors. And this has now become an intuitive way to think about human thought and behavior. But I would argue that if we were to go back, say, 500 years to before the Enlightenment, people didn't think that way. They didn't think that way. They thought maybe divine powers directed their behaviors. That's what ancient Greeks thought, people in medieval times. They weren't so hung up on this idea that they're in conscious control of their behaviors. And so to a certain extent, this perspective that conscious control processes are the way we run our behavior and our thought is a cultural construction, and a Western cultural construction that you can trace to the Enlightenment. So yeah, Descartes would also say we're aware of the causes of our actions as a perspective that's assumed by Descartes, philosophy in general, most of social science, and I would argue most lay people in Western societies. So what if this view is wrong is kind of the point of this lecture and to some extent the rest of the class. And it's really maybe the central point of the Jonathan Haidt book and the Timothy Wilson book is what if that view is entirely wrong? What if much of behavior is instead created by factors which are outside of our awareness, which we have only a sort of vague insight on? And what if we only think that we're in control? Have you ever heard this presented in like a philosophy class, by the way? This perspective that maybe you're just like a brain in a jar and, a mad scientist or some other power is sort of simulating the world around you and you're not really in control of everything. It's essentially the same idea as in the Matrix, right? You're in the Matrix and you're in some kind of gross, oozy thing or whatever, in a pod, and the machines are like running your consciousness, simulating some world where you think you're in control, but you're not. And you can never know that because you can't ever get outside your consciousness. But if you could, you'd then know. Well, you'd be like Keanu Reeves, and then you would know that you're actually a brain in a jar, essentially. So what if we don't know the reasons for most of our behavior is where we start. And this is the central idea of the Wilson book, which is just a kick-ass book. You got to read this book really closely because it's terrific. And Timothy Wilson is maybe my favorite social psychologist. So Wilson kind of cut his teeth coming up through the ranks working with this guy, Richard Nisbett, at, you got it, Stanford University. Right, in the 70s. And there's no more in the 70s. And they had a central thesis they put forward in a review article that was published in 1977 that to this day is one of the best works of social psychology. It's a review article, and what they wanted to do was review research that all kind of converged on the suggestion, the big insight, that we have limited access to our mental processes. We have limited insight on the causes of our behavior. And what they called the paper was Telling More Than We Can Know, which is the title that sort of sums up this idea that if you ask somebody, why'd you do that, or what are the causes of your behavior, they're just not necessarily going to know the right answer. And their article was reacting to the common sense assumption that many of us make, that you can just ask people why they behaved in some way that they did, and then you can trust what you hear back from them, that what they're going to tell you corresponds in some meaningful, perhaps even totally accurate way with the real causes of their behavior. In other words, they're reacting to this idea that you can rely on self-reports to understand people. And this is an assumption that's common in interview methods. A lot of people use empirical research methods. Assume you just go up to people and say, hey, why did you participate in that revolution? And they'll tell you, oh, this is why. And what they'll tell you is exactly right. Or, oh, hey, why you abuse your wife? And they'll tell you exactly why. And so on. It's also an assumption that's made in focus groups research, where they say, oh, why do you like that political candidate versus that one? You know that thing that they show on CNN with the dial, where like a handful of people that are picked, as far as I can tell, just randomly, then turn a dial when they like the person, turn it down when they don't. And the assumption there is that the dial, which then charts, how many people like what Barack Obama is saying, or like what John McCain's saying, or what have you, whoever's debating. There's an assumption that dial has some correspondence with voting behavior. Mind you, that assumption has never been tested and is perhaps very questionable based on research. But this assumption that self-reports are reliable insights on the causes of behavior is also made in surveys and experiments all the time. And that was kind of Wilson's position was, you guys, you have these fancy experiments, you're going to great lengths to conduct really rigorous research, but then at the end, you're just asking people, why did you do this? And you're often trusting what they say, and what a silly idea that is. Also media research, focus group surveys, et cetera. Okay, so Nisbett and Wilson reviewed a huge literature from social psychology, which showed that people have little insight into the causes of their behavior. And what they found was, this is worse really, is that people won't even tell you when they don't know, right? If you ask people about the causes of their behavior, why'd you do this? They're always going to tell you something, right? Because people don't want their behavior to come from, randomness or non-conscious factors. They want to imagine they're in control. We all want to imagine we're in control. And so we always think we have some reason for our behaviors. The problem is, most of the time we seem to be just kind of coming up with it after the fact upon being asked. And it doesn't actually correspond to the real causes. And so usually people will generate explanations. They'll have little correspondence with the real causes of their behavior. And what's more, those explanations of their behavior tend to sound very rational and, defensible and sensible. Like, oh yeah, I did this horrible thing, but I have these very good reasons for it. Yeah, right. So they're often, even usually, the wrong reasons for their behavior. So, and you should remember this. The next time you're in an argument with somebody about something they did, and you're like, why did you do that? Why did you do that? And they're giving you these explanations. Remember that they're just coming up with them on the spot. You know, like, those are not the real causes of their behavior, most likely. And they maybe don't even know what they are. This is something that happens all the time in like romantic relationships, right? They're like, why did you do that? You know, why did you do that? Was it to hurt my feelings? It was to hurt my feelings. Wasn't. I just hurt my feelings, right? And then it's like, no, of course I didn't do it. I did it for this reason. It's like, you just made that up. I can tell you just made that up. You did everything. Like, they don't know. That's the thing. Is they don't know. They don't know. And really, all you're doing is sort of evaluating alibis. You know, like, can you come up with an acceptable, sensitively phrased alibi? Which I guess matters, but you know, you should keep in mind that's what you do. Okay, so people have limited insight into the true causes of their behavior, and if you want to understand human behavior, you can't just ask somebody. So now you're probably wondering, what kind of research is a testimony to this proposition? They have this big finding. I'm telling you, there's this big review article. Well, what kind of research do they review in this review article? Well, one of my favorite pieces of research they review in this review article is the following. It's just one example of how they marshal evidence in support of this claim that people don't have great insight on the causes of their behavior. And in this one experiment, I don't remember where it was conducted. We'll assume it wasn't, you know, that place. But the subjects in this study were asked to tie two ropes together that were hanging from the ceiling in the lab. And so one of them's hanging here and has like a tennis ball at the bottom, and the other one's hanging here and has a tennis ball at the bottom. And they're asked, tie these two together. And it's actually sort of a difficult task because what usually happens is the subjects go in there, they grab this one, and they go over to grab the other one, and it's just barely too far for them to tie them both together. They just can't quite grab it. And so a lot of people fail this task. They don't. I know that sounds funny that they can't tie two ropes together, but many people fail this task. We would maybe fail this task. You understand what I'm saying here? Grab this, and you're supposed to tie it to this one, but you can't quite reach it. So the answer, does anybody know what the answer to this task would be? I heard others may say vegetarian. Just be a vegetarian. That'll solve it all. Nobody probably said that. What? Yes, exactly. Swing the ropes, or swing at least one rope. Yes, exactly. So that's the answer. Is if you get this rope swinging, then you can go over and grab this one, and then grab this one on an upswing, and then tie them together, and it's pretty easy. But it's not exactly. I mean, all of you know that because you're very, very smart people. But for some reason, the subjects in the study weren't as smart as you. So they had two conditions for the study. In one condition, they just do it this way, right? Where they just say tie these two ropes together, figure it out, good luck, see ya. And then they say, okay, how long does it take them to figure it out? In another condition, they say tie this rope to this rope, and then they bat it, sort of hit it, you know, and get it swinging. Just like tie a rope to this rope and hit it. They hit it, and then in that condition, when they leave, the people figure out the task much faster. Okay, so they figure out you need to hit this one and then tie the two together in order to solve the task. They figure it out like in half the time or something. But then when they ask them later, how did you figure out how to do this? People report nobody reports because you batted the ball, and then I saw that was the answer. Instead, people came up with incredibly fanciful explanations. So one person, well, a lot of them just said, I'm a very, very smart person, and I figure stuff out like this all the time. So, but some people, even that a psychologist participated in the study because they're interested. Do psychologists maybe have some greater insight into the causes of their behavior? And the psychologist had this whole extended Freudian explanation for how he figured it out. He's like, the vision came to me all at once. I saw monkeys swinging through the trees on vines, and I imagined myself a young Tarzan flying through the jungle, and it came to me in that instant that I should grab the vine, and I knew it, you know, just then from the monkeys or something like that. So this absurdly detailed explanation when the experimenters know that odds are the reason he figured it out was he was in the condition where they batted it, and like twice as many people get it right in that condition. So it's a classic insight on psychologists, but also on how we don't have Freudian psychologists, but also on how we don't have perfect access to the causes of our behavior. And ironically, Freud was one of the first proponents of this. To briefly discuss this idea that we have limited access to the causes of our behavior, that we're wrong in thinking our consciousness kind of runs the show. Originally in psychology, there were kind of two strains on how you do research. One was the Freudian strain. This is the late 19th century, early 20th century. And the Freudian strain said deep introspection that's carefully analyzed by a very smart psychotherapist will reveal the causes of your behavior. But the thing is, you can't take anything somebody says at face value because, in fact, behaviors are directed by unconscious causes. You know, and Freud is believed in some ways to invent the concept of the unconscious. Now, in fact, people knew about the unconscious before that, but in a lot of ways in academia, he sort of brought this concept to the fore. But there was another line of research, which we don't talk about very much, that was common in the 1890s, called introspection research, where again, you would ask people to introspect, sit in a very comfortable chair,